Hola amigos, bienvenidos. Hi friends and welcome to the Language Tutor Spanish podcast. I'm your profesor de español, Danny Evans, and thanks for hanging out with me. I always enjoy hanging out with you and helping you learn your Spanish and practice. Well, this is episode 8, and that means we're going to practice what we did on episode 8 on the Language Tutor Spanish YouTube channel. You can find that at The Language Tutor. Just go to YouTube and type that in, and you'll find me there. And make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so that you never miss any of our great language lessons. Well, on episode 8, we talked about the verb ser. That means to be. Ser. And remember, we have that fun thing in Spanish where there are two ways to say to be in Spanish. Ser is the one that we use when we're talking about our permanent attributes, our characteristics. I'm not sure if you've been thinking about how you would describe that, but it's always good to think, how would I define ser? How would I personally explain it? And a lot of times just allowing yourself to explain it really helps you go over the conditions as well. You know, pretend like you're the teacher teaching somebody else, and that helps you really get it in line in your own mind. So remember with the verb ser, we talked about popin, P-O-P-I-N. And that stood for permanent condition, occupation, place of origin, identification, and nationality. Now, we learned the pronoun chart earlier on an episode of the podcast and on the YouTube channel. We practiced it here on the podcast. And so we took the verb ser and we put it with different pronouns on the chart. I just want to start by going over those pronouns. So whatever you're doing right now, just kind of visualize in your mind the chart. And let's start at the top left. Okay, so I am is yo soy. I'm going to give you a second to kind of think about those. Yo soy. Now let's move down to the tú form. Think about the tú form. It's tú eres. Tú eres means you are, speaking to someone that we are familiar with or someone our age. Now move down to the bottom left and let's do él es. Él es. He is. And she is ella es. And you are, speaking to someone showing respect, is usted es. All right, so remember that él, ella, and usted are together in the chart in the bottom left because they use all the same stuff and they live in the same house, okay, and they share all the same things. So that's why they're together. They all three use es. Now let's go to the top right. Nosotros somos. Nosotros somos is we are. Now let's move down to the middle right where that vosotros Spain version is. Vosotros sois. Sois is that verb conjugation. And down to the bottom right, we're going to do the two forms of they. Ellos son and ellas son. And then the ustedes form, which is saying you plural, the one that they use in all Spanish-speaking countries. Ustedes son. Okay. So work on those verb forms and just make sure you have soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. Well, that takes care of our first practice. Now let's get ready to go into part 2 of 3 during this episode of the podcast. Now this time I want to just simply say the forms of ser, and I want you to just really check your spelling on those forms and make sure we're solid on that spelling. I always tell my students, if you can say it, you can spell it. And if you say it correctly, you can spell it correctly. So let's just take a minute to go through each one of those forms. First of all, let's spell soy. Soy. And you should have said S-O-Y. S-O-Y. Now let's spell tú eres. Eres. And that's E-R-E-S. That's E-R-E-S in English. And the bottom left, just simply the verb es is E-S. That's E-S. And on the top right, let's spell the nosotros form. Somos. S-O-M-O-S. And the vosotros form, which is sois. You should have said S-O-I-S, S-O-I-S. And finally, ellos, ellas, and ustedes son. And that is S-O-N. All right, friends, that takes care of that practice. Now let's get ready to move into our last practice of this podcast. And that's going to be simply you recalling the form of ser that goes with each pronoun. Now, I want to do this so that you're having to think about the pronoun and the form of ser. I'm going to call out English phrases out of order. Now, I'll clarify which form of you I'm talking about if we're going to do a form of you. And I want you to think about it, the pronoun and the verb in Spanish. Okay, rather than me giving you the pronoun in Spanish and you putting the verb that goes with it, let's go ahead and think about both. That just helps us further solidify our thinking in Spanish, okay? Here we go. Up first is we are. You should have said nosotros somos. And up next is you are if I'm speaking to someone my age or a friend, not adding extra respect to it. And that is tú eres. And next is they are if you're only talking about girls. You should have said ellas son. And the next one's easy. I am. Yo soy. The next one is he is. He is. And that is él es. The next one is you are. Now, we got a lot of forms of you here, so I'm talking about the form of you if I'm speaking to a group of people, but it's the one they only use pretty much in Spain. You are. And that is vosotros sois. Next up is they are if I'm talking about boys or boys and girls mixed. And that is ellos son. Next one, she is. And I bet you got this one right. Ella es. Next up, you are if I'm talking to a group, but the one they use in all Spanish-speaking countries. And that is ustedes son. And last one of the 10 would be you are if I'm speaking to one person and I want to show respect. And that is usted es. Usted es. Two different words. All right, friends. Well, I hope this has been a short and easy, beneficial practice to you to solidify the forms of ser. The best thing you can do is be using them in conversation all the time, as much as you can. On the next episode of the podcast, we're going to practice ser with description words and really kind of work on those descriptions that we talked about on the YouTube channel. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I want to wish for you peace and blessings, paz y bendiciones, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having peace and blessings this great day or evening or night, wherever you are in the world or whatever you're doing right now. Thanks for hanging out with me. I look forward to being with you on the very next podcast episode of The Language Tutor. I'll see you soon. Hasta pronto.